No, he is the first one to actually use his platform as an American citizen to be able to call out the fake news media and say, because you are peddlers
you
of
understand
false
that, like, someday you're going to regret this, right?
For the past 3.5 years.
Someday you're going to regret this when your kids and your grandkids look back at this time and you use slurs and smears like fake news to hurt news outlets.
No, but it's, Brian, is
Jenna,
when you can't even come on.
I think in 10 or 20 years, if we just sit down and talk about this, you're going to recognize how damaging it was.
It's only been 3 years since this interview, and Jenna Ellis already recognizes how damaging all this is.
How damaging it was to use terms like fake news, to attack journalists who were trying to do their jobs.
In 15 or 20 years, you're not trying to do your job. You're not a journalist, Brian. You're an activist. That's the problem. You have an agenda, and your agenda is anti-Trump. The American people see through that, and they are very grateful that this president is finally holding the fake news media accountable, because you're activists. You're not reporting fact and truth. You won't even say that as a general
the reason why I think it's helpful to have these conversations
shouldn't ever appear in a media outlet.
Folks have gotten used to these alternative realities, and I think it's important we see there are alternative realities. And Jenna, I appreciate you coming on to talk about it.
How can you as a journalist sit there, Brian, and you know what? I want to
One
wish
more bit
President
of Trump
Trump
news to share with you.
Happy birthday from CNN.
Happy birthday.
That was Brian Stelter who said, someday you're going to regret this when your kids and your grandkids look back at this time and you use slurs and smear us as fake news to hurt news outlets back in June of 2020. The clip of him and Jenna Ellis has resurfaced recently, and he was reminded of the interview after Ellis pled guilty last week. In exchange for truthful testimony at future trials, Ellis pleaded guilty to one felony count of aiding and abetting false statements and writings. She had been charged with 2 counts, including racketeering. According to NPR, Ellis's charge stems from a December 3rd, 2020 subcommittee hearing of Georgia's Senate Judiciary Committee, where Trump lawyers Rudy Giuliani and Ray Smith made so many baseless claims of widespread election fraud. You know what else happened at around that time?
The poll book is completely off. Completely off.
Off by 30,000?
I'd say that poll book is off by over 100,000. That poll book, why don't you look at the registered voters on there?
So my question then is, if the
guess how many? Wait, what about the turnout rate? 120%.
Let's let Representative Johnson ask his question.
My question here is, why we're not seeing the poll book off by 30,000 votes? That's not the case.
What did you guys do? Take it and do something crazy to it?
That became a skit on Saturday Night Live. Anyways, Brian Stelter posted this article which says that 2 days after his interview with Jenna Ellis, the Trump campaign demanded an apology that was never given. Quote, "We condemn Brian Stelter's behavior and call on CNN and Stelter to apologize." The issue at the root of their dispute in this interview was a CNN poll that touted Joe Biden being 14 points ahead of Trump among registered voters, per the New York Post. Stelter and Ellis went on to debate a libel lawsuit filed earlier that year by the Trump campaign against CNN over an opinion piece that the campaign alleges contained false information. Quote, "It's a stunt and a phony poll to cause voter suppression, stifle momentum and enthusiasm for the president," the letter stated. Jenna Ellis called the poll junk, despite it only looking at the opinions of registered voters. All of this proves that the internet keeps receipts, just in case some forget that they knew what they were getting themselves into.
What I did not do, but should have done, Your Honor, was to make sure that the facts the other lawyers alleged to be true were in fact true. In the frenetic pace of attempting to raise challenges to the election in several states, including Georgia, I failed to do my due diligence. I believe in and I value election integrity. If I knew then what I know now, I would have declined to represent Donald Trump in these post-election challenges. I look back on this whole experience with deep remorse. For those failures of mine, Your Honor, I have taken responsibility already before the Colorado bar who censured me, and I now take responsibility before this court and apologize to the people of Georgia. Thank you.
For Rebel HQ, I'm Jeff Wiggins. My architect knows Japanese.